Hi everyone, welcome to the visual guide for the Tower of Babel. This is the second new leveling dungeon made available through the MSQ in Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. This dungeon may feel very tedious at first, which may make you temper your expectations of what's to come. Here to keep you positive, my name is MAGITEK and I'll be your dungeon guide. In this first section, you'll need to fight through a bunch of tempered Garlean forces. Watch your feet and don't forget your cooldowns. The first boss is Barnabas. Once the encounter begins, the outer perimeter will turn into a danger zone. Periodically, he will turn towards a random player and cast Ground and Pound. Watch the boss closely for his wind-up punch animation and move out from in front of him to avoid getting hit. Eventually, the boss will move to the edge and cast a large line attack through the center of the room. The line attack and players will be marked with either a positive or negative marker. If a player has the opposite marker to the line attack, they will be pulled towards the attack. Players with the same marker as the line attack will be repelled away. As such, players will need to pre-position to avoid getting pushed into the outer danger zone or pulled into the center line attack. Shocking Force will target a player with the stack-up marker. The rest of the group will need to stand on them to share the incoming damage. Dynamic Scrapline will form a point-blank AoE circle around the boss, and the positive and negative markers will appear again. This time, players will have to compare their markers to the giant markers on the boss, before pre-positioning to avoid getting knocked into the outer edge or pulled into the point-blank AoE. Thundercall will spawn a number of orbs around the platform. At the same time, the boss will swing in a circle. Players will need to move away from the boss and in between the orbs to avoid getting hit. These mechanics will repeat until the boss is down. In this next section, you'll fight waves of ads on the elevator before eventually reaching the second boss, Lugae. Thermal Suppression will deal group-wide damage. Healers be ready. Magitek Missile will target the ground under players with wide circle attacks. Magitek Ray will have the boss turning towards a player and casting a long line attack. Move away from both of these attacks to avoid getting hit. Eventually, the boss will run to the middle and cast Downpour. Two tiles will begin to glow on the platform next to him. The green one will turn players into toads, while the purple one will shrink players. Downpour will cover the arena in water and afflict players with a stacking Breathless debuff that increases over time. If this debuff stack gets to 8, you will die. To avoid death, players will use the green tile to turn themselves into toads, allowing them to breathe in the water. While this is happening, the boss will throw out multiple missile attacks. Move away to avoid damage. Eventually, the platform will return to normal and mechanics will repeat. Magitek Explosive will spawn large bombs in a random pattern on the platform. Each bomb will explode in a cross pattern, forming a specific safe zone that players will need to move into to avoid death. When the boss returns to the middle and casts Magitek Chakram, the tiles will reactivate and chakrams will form on the edges, with no immediate obvious safe zones. Players will need to stand in the purple tile to shrink themselves small enough that the chakrams will fly over their heads safely. All of these mechanics will repeat until the boss is down. The last section of Trash will have you fighting tons of giant mobs that can hit pretty hard. Rotate your cooldowns appropriately and burn everything down. The final boss is Anima. Lunar Nail will spawn a number of nails around the platform. The boss will then begin to cast Phantom Pain and the nails will tether to each other. This attack will affect the parts of the platform connected by the nail tethers. To dodge this, players will have to identify the areas without any tethered nails and move into them. Once the attack goes off, the nails will disappear. MEGA-GRAVITON will deal high group-wide damage. Healers be ready with those shields and heals. 4 orbs will also appear in the corners of the platform that will attach to players with proximity tethers. The boss will also cast PATRIAE through the center of the room. To handle all of this, players will have to run far enough away from their orb until their tether turns orange. At the appropriate distance, players will not be pulled into the dangerous orbs. When the boss casts Boundless Pain, all players will be pulled into the center and a massive beam will continuously attack the center and grow. Players will need to quickly move out of this area and into the corners to avoid excess damage. IMPERATUM will stun all players and pull them into Anima's dimension. In this dimension, Anima will begin to charge up their chaos gauge and you'll need to destroy this part of the boss before it reaches 100. Obliviating Claw will spawn 2 sets of iron nails on the east and west edges of the platform. These nails will blast across the platform in the order that they spawn in. Players will need to find the gap in each pattern to avoid getting hit. The next Obliviating Claw will chase its targeted players for some time. If you're marked, make sure you run away until the nails disappear as they deal high damage and debuffs with each hit. These mechanics will repeat until this Anima is destroyed. Oblivion will deal high raid-wide damage over a number of hits. Healers be ready with those shields and heals. At this point, the group will be returned to the original platform and the encounter continues. Erupting Pain will target players with circle attacks. Spread these apart to avoid overlap. Mechanics will repeat until the boss is destroyed. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Up next, we're heading to Vanaspati. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time.